hanging about with the guy that played Elliot in E.T. That's I remember that from this sequence or whatever. Just being like, that was a real horrible, crushing realization. He was drinking himself in oblivion in a bar in New York. And we're
Oh,
just like, and
God.
we're going, that's the guy from E.T.
Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke.
And Dave.
340 somethings, reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
We look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is stupid and contagious. Right, episode, I don't know why I clapped, gave myself a round of applause. Episode 43 of the Stupid and Contagious podcast. This week, we're speaking to Sci-fi Steve and Manda-Rin from BiS, one of Luke's faves from the time, so he enjoyed that interview.
I did indeed. I did.
Yes, so we'll get into that a little bit later. Just before we do that, I don't know if anyone ever cares what we've been up to for the last week, but we do continue with this piece, so we'll carry on, I guess.
Of course they do.
Dave, what have you been up? What's been going on in Berwick?
Well, I haven't got an update, but my friend did send me something interesting, I thought. Russell sent me, who listens to the podcast, I believe.
Hello,
Was he
Russell.
your best
Have you
man?
seen... Huh?
Was he your best man?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't ask us, did you?
You didn't even fucking come.
No, that's why. Didn't fucking ask us.
Of course I did. You just couldn't be asked to come to Sweden.
I came to your stag do, didn't I?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I'll take that. You'd have just been a pain anyway if you'd come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you seen this? I think it's been going around, this graphic about, plotting how much people like a song depending on how old they are. Have you seen
No.
that?
No, go on.
And it's titled "All Good Music Came After I Was Born and Before I Hit 35." And then
Right.
the peak age where
Ah.
you like all the songs basically is about 15. 15, it's that age where you just
So this is what we're talking about. So this whole podcast is a sham, really.
No, it's
well-
not. It's correct.
it's basically this graph equals our
So it's-
podcast.
It's not a sham. He's saying it's scientific fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but basically, the demographic that we've already got, that's it. We're not going to,
No one else is going to be remotely interested.
But then my nieces have started. Well, my older niece listens to Nirvana and stuff now. I do know
Yeah.
what you're saying there, but I do know what you're saying. Obviously, our parents don't listen to Nirvana and stuff, but they do rave on about, well, Cliff Richard, Rod Stewart.
But I think this isn't scientifically proven, but I think there is something about this 30 years is key, so
Yeah, it's the 30-year cycle, isn't it?
Nirvana is like having an echo because it's 30 years old.
Oh, you think there's an echo for bands like
Yeah,
30 years
yeah.
down the line?
But
That's
I'm just
interesting.
waiting
That
for the
could be
graph
true
to
too.
prove it.
Well, you could do that. You could make the graph.
Yeah,
Could
just
if it
fix all
wasn't
the
bullshit.
data for my result. That's what all scientists do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Luke's not buying it.
But I don't believe a word of it.
He's
No.
not buying the 30-year echo. Did you just invent the 30-year echo? I like it.
Well, it's a fact, isn't it? Science.
It will be soon.
Yeah, but the phrase 30-year echo.
Yeah, it's got a
you
catchy
just
name,
invented.
so that's enough.
Yeah, that'll help it along.
But so nothing else has happened in Berwick apart from that.
Not
That's
much.
greenhouse.
There was a big
Dave's
beetle
nomadic
found.
greenhouse.
Oh, hang
Well,
on.
that-
There's a big beetle found.
Yeah, there was a big beetle found in
Oh,
the village.
what?
Went around
I
the
didn't see
village
this.
WhatsApp group.
I didn't see this on the news. What do you mean?
Not
on the
a
Berwick news.
beetle from the band.
Oh, a beetle was found in the village.
Yeah,
Stag
big
beetle.
one. Well, no one can identify its species.
Oh man, you ask any Japanese schoolboy, they'll be able to identify it in a second. They're popular pets over here.
Are they?
What, beetles?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
quite a good
For, like,
idea.
primary school kids have them as pets.
Easy
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah. You can buy these like funny, chewy things that they eat, kind of like sap, I guess. It's like tree sap. You can buy
Oh.
like a pellet of it and they eat it. Yeah.
Oh, I
That's a
want
good
one.
idea. We'll get,
Um,
Is
but
that
I'll
what the
get you one day.
Tamagotchi was based on?
No. But that was based on like a cat or a dog, wasn't it? Tamagotchi.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah.
beetle.
not a beetle. But why don't you steal the Berwick beetle? Steal it and keep it as a pet.
Yeah, get the beetle.
Get the Berwick beetle.
Someone must have lost their pet. That's what it is. How big was it? That big?
We're talking that big, yeah.
That's pretty good.
No,
That's
not
as
that
big
big.
as my head. Shit, man, that is massive news.
You wait until it goes missing. That'd be even bigger news.
Right, Luke, what's been going on in anything exciting been going on over there?
I don't think so. Nothing to add. No, it's a rainy season over here. It just keeps raining. It's horrible. Humid and raining. It's horrible. So I haven't been able to do
You
much.
mean you've just had a bit of a wet day?
I got completely pissed on cycling home. I thought I could get there in between rain, and I totally got caught. Got soaked. Not good for doing laundry, I'll tell you that much.
Fucking hell. I mean, this is riveting for the listeners. But I haven't got anything to add really either. I hit my head yesterday on a low beam at a wedding and thought I'd given myself minor concussion. It really hurt. You know when you're just not expecting it, you run headlong into something.
Yeah.
I got like a comedy lump on my head straight away. But yeah, apart from that, I did want to talk about something because I've been listening to a lot of Coldplay this week. Now I know you're not a massive fan. I do. That XY album is really good, and I ain't gonna hear otherwise.
Is that the one where they discovered krautrock? No,
it's the one with Speed of Sound, Fix You, all that sort of stuff.
I think that's when they claim to have discovered krautrock or something.
Okay, well, it is then.
Well, I might be wrong. But I remember when that happened, I said, "Oh, shut the fuck up."
I have to defend them. I think they do some good stuff. You know, they get a lot of flack, but I think they're a good live band as well. And,
Are you just trying to trick me into coming out as a Coldplay fan?
Yeah, I know you're one. That's obvious.
No, I quite like Coldplay. Yeah,
of course
I do like it.
But no, they have done some shit like most bands. But I think that they do produce some good stuff.
But Neil, shall we indulge Luke and ask him to explain to us what krautrock is?
Well, he's itching to tell us, isn't he? So go on, Luke.
It's German electronic experimental music from the late 60s to the early 80s. Kraftwerk, new, that kind of thing. I'm sure whatever Chris Martin attempted to approximate, it was very, very far from krautrock.
Because you're not a Coldplay fan, right?
Of course I'm not. I know it's got like a cliche to hate them, isn't it? I know you're not you're trying to goad me into a rant so you can put a clip onto TikTok. I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction because they don't deserve it. They're so shit. They don't deserve a rant. And it's not the fact that they're shit, it's the fact that they're mediocre. That's the problem. That's worse than being shit. I've said this before. Being mediocre is worse than being bad.
I don't agree.
They're the epitome of mediocre. They're nothing.
No, I don't agree. I'm sorry. I don't agree.
They're the living embodiment of regression to the mean. You know, basically everything averages out in the end, and everything is they're like a band of averageness, and it just culminates in this averageness of shite.
They're not groundbreaking. I just think they write some really good songs.
But you don't have to be groundbreaking. But they're not even not groundbreaking. They're just so mediocre.
The averageness point's interesting because if you say average of the human face, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Yeah. A graphic of that? It's actually quite beautiful. Average everyone's face, you get a beautiful face.
Right.
So that's what Coldplay is.
They've just taken everyone's faces and made a beautiful one.
Yeah, but it might be beautiful, but is it noticeable?
No, probably not. So.
No.
Exactly.
But it's pleasant.
Yeah. I notice it.
Oh, God, there's nothing worse than being pleasant in rock music. That's got to be the worst fucking crime of all, man.
I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation because I was listening to this. I thought, shall I mention it? And I thought, shall I bring it up? Just see what.
Yeah. Well, they scraped into the 90s.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
So I've been listening to that. Sorry. But, you know, I did also binge on a bit of BiS this week for this week. So I evened it out. You know.
There you go. Now you're talking.
So, yeah. So shall we get into this week's episode with BiS?
Can't wait.
Do it. if you are watching this, then please do comment below your favourite BiS tracks, albums, gigs. Leave a comment below. It's always good to start a conversation. If you are listening to this, then please do rate and review, because it really does help the podcast get found.
And if you're new to the podcast, we've got over 40 episodes in there, so have a dive into the archives, and I'm sure you'll find some band you like, and some banter to keep you occupied.
Yeah, go and have a binge. There's some good stuff in there. Luke, tell us a bit about. I can give you a.
Go on in. What's the Wikipedia description? Go on.
It's really lazy. Scottish indie pop band.
Indie electro disco pop. I wrote down.
I think that's better.
Yeah, as people would hear in the interview in a minute, I was super excited for this one.
Yeah, I remember you used to love them. Or still do.
Yeah, still do. Big fan. Yeah. So they formed in 1994, so it's their 30th anniversary, going back to Dave's third Echo. What was it again? I can't be that good. I've forgotten.
30-year Echo.
Going back to Dave's 30-year Echo theory. So their 30th anniversary this year. So three-piece. Today's guests, Manda-Rin and Sci-Fi Steve, and third member who's not in the interview is John Disco, who I think's Steve's younger brother. Formed in near Glasgow in Scotland, where they're still at school, basically. They were exactly really our age. They all met at school. I love that. They were just like loads of teens into music. There was the two brothers that you said they were brothers, and then she just liked the band, and they sort of became a bit of a groupie, I think, and then joined. Right? Yeah. And they're exactly our age. So yeah, I think
your age. I'm
younger. Well, I'm exactly between Manda and Steve. So
I'm younger than you two. So
yeah, I think she's like March 77, which is about the same as you, Neil. You're April 77.
I'm May 77.
I'm May. You're a bit younger. Anyway. So yeah, they started releasing music, underground DIY stuff, and became the first unsigned band on Top of the Pops, which is pretty amazing.
I didn't know that.
Can't be taken away. Yeah,
there you go. It's a fact, a good fact.
Yeah, with their song Candy Pop, which was part of on their Secret Vampires EP. And I think it got to number 25 in the charts, which is pretty good. Off the back of Top of the Pops.
Is that where the band got the name from? Secret Vampires. Oh, there isn't one called Secret Vampire.
Is there a band called Secret Vampires? Right.
There should be one.
There should. It's a good name.
Carry on.
Even better.
But hang on. Question. Technical question. How did they get to number 25 if they didn't have a record deal?
Well, they had there's a Scottish label, Chemical Underground, who I'm a big fan of. They released the record for them. They weren't signed to them as such, but they released the record basically. Right. But I think there were problems. They hadn't printed enough and stuff. I think they talk about in the interview. They hadn't pressed enough copies. Yeah.
So it could have got higher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they released quite a few singles. My favourite, This Is Fake DIY, on their own record label, Teen C Recordings. I think they got to number 45, which is not bad for an underground, DIY release. So they had this kind of cool underground DIY aesthetic thing going on, and then they signed. Well, in the US, they signed to Beastie Boys label Grand Royal, which was pretty big news at the time.
About that after, but that's cool, isn't it? Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. And they were on Ouija in the UK. So first album came out in 97, New Transistor Heroes. Kind of very much kind of poppy, bouncy, bubbly, fun, electro kind of punk. But as we talk about in the interview, some really cool lyrics and some into politics and social commentary and stuff like that in the lyrics, which is really cool.
I'll be honest, I haven't really listened to much of them since back in the day. I don't remember it being as sort of, obviously it was, but as sort of punky and heavy guitars and stuff as it. It's really quite sort of in your face. I like it. I like it more now than I did then, I think.
I think the music press didn't really take them too seriously. kind of brush them aside of, squeaky poppy nonsense. But as we talk about in the interview, and if anyone is listening to this and they're not a BiS fan, if they take anything away from today's episode, I want them to respect them, take them seriously, and have a listen to the lyrics. And I think they're really really great band. I
tend to agree. Like I say, after listening, listen sort of. Why can't I talk today? I can't think of anything.
It's probably good that you've got your own hit podcast, isn't it?
I know. This is going on a tangent, but I do need to give someone a mention before we go on. Okay, so he's on YouTube as Rocket 69218.
Ronnie O'Sullivan?
No, it's not him.
Oh.
I think he goes under the name Human Flies.
Okay.
But he is literally, as we speak, binge watching all of the episodes, because every sort of couple of hours I'll get a comment on the next one. Like he comments on, he's been commenting on every episode. I love that, and I just sort of give him a bit of the podcast. Out. Yeah, on YouTube.
All right, Rocket. Thanks, man. Woman.
It's always nice when people leave comments, so please do that, because we do appreciate it. It's nice to have a chat about what we've done.
That's brilliant. Love to hear that.
I just thought I'd mention it because he's literally this week is going through every one.
Maybe it is Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Cheers, Ronnie.
Anyway, back to BiS.
So yeah, that's the first album. I really love that first record. Second album in 1999, Social Dancing. A bit more of a mature sound, I guess. A bit more of what they kind of mellowed out a little bit in some places, not all of it. Basically toured with loads of people. Again, we can maybe talk about it afterwards. But yeah, Foo Fighters, Pavement. Riot Girl Band, Sleater Kinney, Bikini Kill, all stuff like that. Did really well in Japan. They even got pretty big in America, and Canada as well, North America, because of they did the theme to the Powerpuff Girls cartoon.
Oh, right, I didn't know that.
Oh, right,
yeah. So
what song's that? Is that a song, and they specifically were commissioned to do that theme?
Yes, yeah. So I don't think it was shown much in the UK, but for that generation of Americans, everyone knows it basically. So they got pretty big for that. Had a third album in 2001, Return to Central, but they broke up. I can't work out if it's 2003 or 2004. I've seen different sources, but let's say 2004.
We should have done the research, really.
Well, I did. That's the problem. I did too much, and I kept getting different answers. If I'd have done not enough, I would have been confident in just saying one. That's the problem. Yeah, they did some solo stuff. Manda had a solo album and did some other stuff. I think she had a badge making business for quite a while as well. Yeah. And they also did, the same members of BiS had a band called Data Panic as well for a short time, a couple of years after they broke up. Then they reformed in 2010. And they've released a few things since then. So they released an album of Data Panic era stuff. They released an album in 2018 called Slight Disconnects, which is really good. I ordered a copy of it ages ago, but it hasn't arrived. Yeah. And they released one just a couple of years ago, 2022, Systems Music for Home Defense, which again is really good. And they've just announced a 30th anniversary show in Glasgow in September, with some other good bands from the 90s, 2000s, Art Brut, who I know you like, Neil.
Well, I knew
Eddie
Argos. I don't really know the band, but I just knew him from hanging around in Bournemouth.
Yeah, I love a bit of Art Brut.
Rake's contemporaries, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were, yeah.
Also Lungleg and the Yummy Fur, who were, I think the Yummy Fur were the Franz Ferdinand, the first band of Franz Ferdinand members.
Really?
Anyway, so they're doing a big gig together, 30th anniversary gig in September, which sounds good. And that's where we're at. That's BiS.
There we go. Should we have a listen? And then we'll have a chat afterwards. Here's Mandarin Steve, or Manda-Rin and Spaceship Steve.
Spaceship Steve? Close enough, man.
What is it?
I'm not telling. It's fine. Spaceship Steve.
All right, Spaceship Steve. from BiS. Enjoy.
All right. Thanks both of you for coming on. How are things in BiS world, basically?
Same as usual. Just patiently waiting for the public to remember that we were good. So, in general, just plugging away. Just we don't really have lifetime to do an awful lot of stuff with BiS. We're geographically challenged. So John's up in Inverness. We're down here in Glasgow. But there's like always a constant stream of ideas, and maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. But we, realistically, like many bands of our vintage, it's we have to pick and choose when we can. We have the freedom to do gigs, or we have the time to make music. It's the unromantic side of still plugging away. Still, you kind of I say this quite often. It's like if we stop, then we just die. So we've got to keep going in one form or other.
Yeah.
And that's
I saw you
30
got
years this year.
30 years. Oh,
Yeah.
That is mad, though, isn't it? It really is.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. I saw you got a couple of 10-inch records coming out, old John Peel sessions from the 90s. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Yeah, they're out already.
Oh, really?
It was a guy who was a big fan, and he's been doing that series for quite a while, just on 7 inches. And he asked if we wanted to do a double. Well, no, it's not a double, two 10 inches. And he paid the BBC to get the recordings, which was very nice of him. And whether he'll ever make his money back or not, I don't know. Nope. But
sorry,
it was just exciting to do and nice to hear those recordings properly, because we hadn't actually heard them in absolutely years. So it's funny because the guy who put them out, he got the test pressings and he was questioning the sound of it, and he said, I don't want to say what it is that I'm concerned about until you listen to it yourself. And I was like, okay. So I listened to it. I didn't find any problems with it. Maybe a tad of bass missing to it. But I said, no, nothing, but what is it? And he said, your voice was very squeaky. It's like, my voice is squeaky back then. So yeah, that was interesting.
I mean, how much do you remember about doing the sessions? You don't get to meet the great man himself, do you, when you do those John Peel sessions?
No, not at the time, no, but we were lucky enough to meet John Peel a couple of times, which not everybody gets to do. I think the session itself was just really funny because we'd only ever really played in London a few times, and so I think we were probably, we were very young, first of all, so we didn't really treat it as reverentially as maybe certain other musicians would have done. So the story that's on the back of the record is true. Is just one of the songs we just kind of made it up on the spot. It was based on an instrumental, and we got my friend James, who was in a band called Ganger, who was down in London at the time. We got him to bring his drum kit and play drums, because you get paid per member. So we thought if we got him in, we could get the money, pay him half of it, get petrol money to get back up the road. So he was Brilliant. On that tune, and we just
which song was it?
It's called Super James. So it was an instrumental, sort of instrumental, I think, called Super Tack. It just sounded like Stereolab, and then we just called it Super James because James was playing drums on it. And then rather than leave it instrumental, we decided to do a kind of prolapse style back and forth, me and Amanda vocal, which involved Amanda reading out of a word search book that she'd been working on the way down, and me reading out of a Financial Times that one of the engineers had in the studio, and then definitely doing this during the recording. I'm sure one of the engineers just sort of paused and hit the talk back and was like, you do know this is for BBC Radio 1, don't you? And it's like the implication being we simply were not respecting the process. My point would be, clearly you've never heard the John Peel radio show, so I think that's what John would have wanted, although I never asked him. But yeah, we did fortunately get to meet the man himself a couple of times. So that was the first session. Second one I can't remember. Maybe Manda can, but I think I was in the whirlwind of 1996, which was our mad year. So I my memory seems to stop about from about our Top of the Pops appearance onwards for a couple of years.
We
Well,
started
according to my
drinking then.
extensive research, I whenever we get bands in, I always go to
Beautiful.
the John Peel Sessions book. You did two in 1996, according to the book. But
the book must speak the truth. Landa, do you remember
there you
anything
go.
about it?
No, was one not the end of 95 and the
One
other
in
one was?
95, two in 96, according to this.
So is that
There you go.
three?
Yeah,
That's what it
Three days?
says. What it
yeah. I think
says.
we did another one later as well, but maybe I think 96 we
Yeah.
were also live on the John Peel show from like Sound City or something.
Oh
So
wow.
he introduced us on
Ah,
stage. That's right. See, it's coming back to me now. Right, there was a weird lineup where it was us, the wedding present, and Orbital playing in I think Leeds, and then John
was
Peel
it?
introduced us on stage. So yeah,
That is
that'll
three
probably
very
count
different bands. Yeah.
a wee bit. Yeah, it was. We did do a few gigs with Wedding Present, but Orbital, sadly, our paths didn't cross again for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we did a Lamac live thing as well, didn't we? So
Yeah,
that,
that's later on. I think that's
yeah.
like it was evening session. We
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
did evening session things, in about the same time. But yeah, with no harm to evening session or Lamac Live, John Peel was the big one. I always remember as part of the stipulation of doing a Peel session was that you weren't to replicate previously recorded material. Now you can take that literally, as in you can't just give us your record and call it a Peel session. But I remember like the first Peel session was the first time we recorded Candy Pop in any form.
Oh
So
wow.
that is his first recording. So that's his first and to my mind best recording is on the Peel session.
Mm.
So none of the songs that we did in the first session had been released in any singles. That's it. Like I always remember, I think probably The Fall, but I do love The Fall, but not in sort of forensic detail like many
Mm.
do. I always remember Pavement would just basically write four new songs for a Peel session because they took it literally like you simply had to do songs that you had never played live or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think even Huggy Bear had songs in Peel sessions that they weren't on anything else. So we kind of treated that quite literally. So
Mm.
um, so this was like we recorded that in what was it, October '95, and then I think that had Candy Pop Teensy Power on it, which didn't come out until March of the next year, which is mental. And Icky Parade, which was coming out as a single, and then Super James that we just made up. So that was very much in, you know, we did respect the Peel session process, the purity of it all, and it's like um possibly took it too literally. Probably by 1996 we simply had run out of songs to do this. So but yeah, but we did grow up loving John Peel, and
Same. Same.
we'd rehearse on a Friday night, and then we'd drive back from the West End to the south side of Glasgow, and we'd have John Peel on. Sometimes it was one of those nights where he was simply playing GABA all night, and was
Yeah. Yeah.
I can respect it, but it wasn't really entirely our thing at that time. So, but yes, we understood the process. So it was a massive thing to do in our first Peel
Yeah.
session, but we were kind of given the heads up because in '95 at some point he played. I think we were doing a gig, maybe at King Tut's in Glasgow, and somebody came to the gig and went, "John Peel's just played you on the radio," and we were like, "Wow, that's amazing." And then, but the
Mm.
follow up was, "But he also played you two of your songs in a row, which is usually reserved for the fall." So like he
Right.
played School Disco and played Public Schoolboy straight after it, and it was like, whoa. To me, that always felt like the first moment I thought, right, we might be actually going somewhere here. So
Mm.
it was a massive thing, and before the NME or
Yeah.
before anybody had really covered us, and we were just a fanzine band really, and then John Peel goes overboard or overground even on Radio
Yeah.
One, and that was they were on two separate records, so it wasn't an accident. Maybe
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Actually.
Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. So you can tell us a bit about how you came together and all of that. You were super young, right?
Yeah.
Remember
So, yeah, so John and Stephen had been doing music together for a while. But John was really young at this point. So he would have been 14 and you were 16 maybe. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
And then
That's
they
young.
recorded
Yeah.
a demo tape at school, and I heard them play at the school, and it was amazing. They were so good, and they were getting a reputation for being the two guys. You need to check this out. They're absolutely amazing. And they were just brilliant. And I also fancied Stephen at the time, so I was really loving it. And it was just so good to see people at your school doing something that you really like musically. And um just went to see them as often as I could, and then eventually got asked to join the band. Not that I could really play much, but I could do enough that I could stand and play keyboards that I was shown what to press, and then it kind of went from there. And I would end up trying to do my own things and trying to sing. Trying is the word in the beginning anyway, because it was just the yelping to start with, but it seemed to appeal to a bunch of people, which was very nice. And a lot of the bands I ended up getting really into, that was the kind of thing that started it all, really.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of bands are we talking about? We are a very similar age, which I know because I've got you got your date of birth smash hit style on the back of the first album. So I was born in '76, same as you, Steve. So
yeah.
I mean, what bands are we talking about at the time?
I think like before Amanda joined, what did we say? Me and John were we started off quite synth poppy, really. I don't know, and then I don't know, what did we sound like? We kind of were a bit sort of lo-fi pop, very like, I mean, Blur were kind of massive to us at all stages, and so, but yeah, also like I suppose me and Amanda got friendly due to bands like the Riot Girl bands like Huggy Bear, Bikini Kill, but also we were both into Blur, and the first ever gig that all three of us went to together was Suede, bizarrely.
Oh.
So we were just informed, we're just music fans, so we weren't obsessed with one specific area of sound. We just took little bits that we liked from lots of things. So this was like, I guess when Amanda joined and was able to, I would play the synth when it was just me and John. So now we had two guitars. So we decided rather than like me play bass or somebody play bass, it was like, no, it's two guitars, the synth and the drum machine. So that kind of just opened it up, and like when Amanda started bringing her own bits and pieces, or we just write songs together, it was just a whole different process. I think like I'm musically technically limited, but like idea driven, and I think Amanda's the same. So when me and Amanda would write songs together, it could be rudimentary, but then John would come in, and John's a technical wizard. He's like the Graham Coxon of the band, who just kind of goes, all right, I hear your ideas, but now I'll play it the way it should be, And John's harmonies would tie our shouting together as well. So it's just having that wider sonic base just meant we were pretty unique, because we didn't respect the boundaries. So yeah, I suppose like something like School Disco, you can track the lineage back to it's Adam and the Ants, it's Human League, it's a bit of Blur, it's a bit of Devo, and it's a bit of Huggy Bear. And I think that's a decent DNA there, and that kind of saw us through. And then you like quickly moving on to Candy Pop. That's just like a John Spencer Blues Explosion riff or something. So from jumping from song to song, we kind of just chanced upon a few things. Always with I suppose preying on a sort of snobbishness towards, certainly in the Britpop era, there's a fear of dance music, a fear of rave and things like that. So like Secret Vampires, the song itself, I'm just trying to program a rave beat using one drum machine and using no samples. Like your T-shirt, the entire Teenage Riot thing, they said they just used that breakbeat over and over again.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a sampler, we had the drum machine. So like if you listen to those drum beats, all I'm trying to do is replicate like 4 different drum beats inside one bit of drum programming. And so it sounds mental. It sounds mental because we were limited with the technology we had. So yeah, we didn't really respect musical boundaries. We didn't try to sound like any band that was popular at the time. We just did our own thing. And there's a real power to that. I can see that looking back now. At the time, you might be thinking, oh, we're never, we can't sell records because we don't sound like this or the other thing. And now it's just like, well, we have remained fairly unique. So there's merit in that, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool to hear. Secret Vampire is one of my favorite tracks. That's cool. That's cool. How about the lyrics? How does who does what in that respect?
I think we just did our own bits, really. Amanda, you said.
Yeah, there was songs like "Say Kill Your Boyfriend" that
Yeah.
was my lyrics, but then Stephen did his lyrics in it, and I was even trying to think about that when I was listening to the first album and even the second one, like how we came up with it. Because there's sometimes that we do give each other what you should sing, but then there's ones I know definitely I definitely wasn't given it, so I must have come up with it. So yeah, there's all different ways, I think. When we used
It's
to
hard
both
to
like
remember, yeah, because sorry, as I'm saying, it's hard to remember because we would definitely be songs where it's like somebody's got somebody's got the hook line or the chorus, and then it's like, I bet this is in your range, so you sing it. So like, but keep that bit, work on that. So it was quite collaborative, I think, sometimes. Sorry, you were
Do you think?
saying?
no,
Do you think
it's quite
the? Oh, go on, go on.
go-
Sorry, man.
I was just going to say it's quite useful because John's harmonies and voice complements Stephen entirely, but they're a different kind of pitch from me. So if something just doesn't seem right for one of us, we can just go, we'll just change that, or you do that instead. So there's
Mm.
something that work best for that.
I always thought that BiS were really underrated for their lyrics. I mean, as a record nerd, I spent hours scanning sleeve notes and stuff. There's like social commentary, there's politics, there's body positivity, there's all kinds of stuff going on there. Do you think that was kind of people kind of, I don't know, didn't see that at the time?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we always try to be, um, you know, the oversimplification of it is that we used to write fanzines, and then when we were writing songs, essentially the same sort of, commentary, politics
That
comes
makes
through.
total sense. Now you've
It
just said
does.
that. That makes total
Um,
sense.
it's
Yeah.
oversimplifying it, but it is true. It's like there's undeniably like our early days there's a bit of smart arse commentary, or like, we're just picking on social groups or whatever. So school disco is essentially just like slagging off the normies at school or whatever, and that's fine. But then we become after our kind of breakthrough, we become quite, maybe not cynical, but certainly like there's a defiance there that's just because of the way that the press treated us in the UK, especially. And yeah, I think I said this other day, is like, I think it's really funny that our first album, the first thing that comes, is our worldwide release that starts. If you take out the introductory part, the first song starts with "Hey you homophobe, life without your frontal lobe." It's like,
Yeah.
it's I still get it to this day. It's like you get the odd, somebody on Twitter or whatever it's called these days, just being like, I cannot believe this was a mainstream record when, before I was born. It's like, yeah, I suppose, you know we I think we are slightly underrated for how, and given the context of the era, we didn't really mince our words,
Mm.
and we were funny sometimes accidentally, but some mostly deliberately. So that's something we've kept going. I think our lyrics now, even songs now, there's a self-deprecation there that we can't really deny, but also there's a true anger still there as well. So
I was going to
we had
say
more.
there's a lot of anger, especially in that first record. There's a lot of anger.
Mhm.
I
Where did
suppose
that
all
come from?
the bands that I was really into at the time, like your Huggy Bear and Bikini Kill, Nation of Ulysses, everyone was feisty and it was all political. And I learned a lot from it because I wasn't overly into politics at that age because I was quite young in the first album, but it was inspirational just to realize that you could have feelings about something, strong feelings, and then shout about it. And there's no rules. You could write whatever you wanted. And yeah, a label's going to put it out no matter what. You didn't have to
I
take
think we
any
were
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we were very political before we realised that we were political, so we were quite defensive about our politics. That's probably what
Mm.
got us killed in the certain interviews with the NME and the Melody Maker. NME mostly, but we were a political band, but we were too young to have fully decided what our politics were. So it was a developing thing. So we weren't able to come with a fully like a written manifesto and a polemic that held together. Like we'd be able to do that now and just be like, okay, we're three different individuals with slightly differing politics, but a collective, rough position. Whereas we were getting compared to properly hardcore political bands when we were teenagers, and it's like, who knows their mind, never mind their politics when they're 18. So we got done for that in a way that elsewhere we'd be around the world we'd probably be considered fairly radically left wing if you look at some of our lyrics, but in the UK it was like you really got it's the history of political independent music in Britain that outweighs most of America and elsewhere. So I'd say we got found out, but we got destroyed because of our. So if a journalist would try to pin down our politics and force us on it, we'd just start taking the piss and laughing or saying stupid things because we were young, and it's like, I think
you say taking a piss. I mean, how serious was all the Teen C revolution stuff? I mean, how serious were you about all of that?
I think that's probably the point. The point is, it's just we were cribbing little bits of all the bands that we loved, so we kind of, we stole little bits without really thinking of the context of it. So, it's like
I really liked it. Maybe I like overanalyze these kind of things, but I kind of saw it as you mentioned the Nation of Ulysses and one of my favorite bands ever, basically, and Makeup and everything Ian Svidonius does, basically. But I got that from it, that kind of kind of gospel revolution thing. I also saw it as like an extension of like Riot Girl, like Riot Girl started because grown up feminism basically didn't cater to these teenage girls in America. I kind of saw it as an extension of that. Am I overanalyzing it, or is that fair?
That's fair because I think that's pretty much what it was intended to be. That's where our inspirations were coming from. That's where our sleeve notes go in little fanzine style diatribes. So yeah, that's definitely that's the lineage of it. But I don't think we didn't have the firebrandness of Svenonius or Huggy Bear to really stand up to it. So we were the kind of like, we get dismissed, possibly rightly in some quarters, as a slightly pop version of that thing. It was so we didn't really know what we're talking about, whatever. Of course we did. It's all there in the lyrics. That the lyrics can still stand up. It's just when we'd get writers really questioning our credentials in that department, and just like, as I say, we just crumble under that pressure. But I think. Yeah, it's some of it's funny. Yes, but the funniest thing is to have followed up a hit single with This Is Fake DIY, which is just a daft thing to have done because it breaks the
I wanted to ask about that. I think it's probably the best song ever written about the record industry. I mean, what were you going through? Was it, how much of it was true? What? Tell me about it.
Yeah, sorry, I can do this one because I wrote the words, I suppose. But
okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's a critique. I mean, like, we grew up as fans of music, as fans of the music press. I worked in a record shop. So I saw the behind the scenes, how records are sold, how you get the free product. We're getting free tickets to gigs and just getting free stock and all this, blah blah blah. The music industry at that time had. Every distributor had a rep that would just, try to take you to a gig for free, buy you pints. It was all like carefully managed, and so yeah, I mean, there's not a line of that doesn't stack up. But I suppose the double bluff part of it was meant to be that single. This Is Fake DIY could have come out on a major record label, and then I was trying to cover ourselves by being like almost like blowing our own cover, because there's a point at which we probably should have gone on to a major label. And then I would have argued it's like we're trying to take it down from the inside, all that sort of shit, and just be like, that's not. So the irony is that it was meant to be a record decrying ourselves for, basically we are fake DIY, but also I'm slagging off the system from taking it down from the inside. But ironically, we ended up releasing the record ourselves anyway, so it did become just a one layer thing when it was meant to be funnier. As I say, the music industry doesn't like it when you try to slag them off. So it's not on the radio because it can't be on the radio. It's So
in the mid
amazing
'90s, all those big record labels were buying up like you say in the song, the small indies and pretending that they hadn't been bought up by the major record labels, right? And it was also cynical, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much. It's just kind of exposing something that everybody kind of knew, but it was just the the sensible thing might have been to follow up Candy Pop, as we were getting some pressure from certain quarters to do, would just be to go back in the studio and re-record Kill Your Boyfriend, and it's like there's a follow up that sounds a bit like the hit, and we just went, that's not who we are. Let's just rip this up and do our own thing. So amazing that we still get record deals after that point. But yes, do you know what? Dick Dale of surf rock fame gave it single of the month in Select magazine. And that's one of my proudest moments, because that's a guy. There's something like that review says like Dick Dale's like, oh, all the harmonies, all the sliding scales and all this, and it's like, yeah, it's actually quite a sort of surf rocky type riff if you just change the rhythm of it. But yeah, the point is the journalist was like basically saying that, oh, they're just wee kids that can't play, and Dick Dale just being like, you say they can't play, are you absolutely sure about that? And it's like, that's the thing. It's like there's a musicality in there that mostly John's doing, but there's some really good notes in that. For a song that's just about slagging off music industry, there's some lovely notes in it.
Great. Amanda, can I ask about the artwork? I think that was your side of things, right?
Yeah, that was a stage when I was really, really into Japanese manga and animation.
Well, I'm talking to you live and direct from Tokyo right now.
Seriously?
I live in Tokyo. Yeah.
God.
So I wanted to ask about it, especially. Yeah.
You're ahead in time then, aren't you?
I am. It's 10:30 at night.
Yeah, absolutely love Japanese art, and I always just like doodled when I was on tour anyway. Anytime you get your little notepad and pen on the bedside table at a hotel, I would always just doodle something. And the early sleeves were kind of cringy. The how how rubbish what the drawings I'd done were, but that was the first time I'd tried to do the proper stuff with the stripes in the background. Okay, I've got a really bright, wide face in it. But I was quite happy with it. And then it got a lot of people into this who maybe wouldn't even have noticed it. It was a definite kind of judging a book by its cover kind of thing. And I think that's maybe why Japan took a big liking to us.
So can you tell us about that? How was it when you came over to Japan for the first time?
Oh, it was mental. Yeah, the first time we went over, it was just a press trip and 2 in stores, and the crowd were going so wild that they pushed the stage and Tower Records forward. Like it actually moved with all our stuff on it. It was just absolutely crazy. It's probably playing to as many people as you would in a venue in Glasgow, but it was tons of people, and they were going mental, absolutely crazy.
Is that Tower Records in Shibuya?
Yeah. And then there was an HMV one as well, wasn't there? I think. Yeah. But we got treated so well, and it was like a thing we'd never experienced before, because we'd never been to Japan, getting picked up in your wee white van with the kind of net bit on the back of your chair, and they treated us so good, and I think they kind of accidentally always let slip when you're in town just to make the fans go quite mental and get more press for you. So wasn't complaining. So very good.
Yeah. Did you go back many times after that?
I've now been to Japan 10 times in total, which is quite crazy.
Wow.
But with the band, we were there 5, maybe. It was the 2 press trips, and then was it and 2 for gigs? Don't know. Stephen might remember better.
I think we definitely did a 97 on the first album. We did 3 nights in Shibuya on Air East. I remember that. And then the second tour in 1999, social dancing tour, we sold considerably less tickets. So it was great while it lasted. But then, I mean, I'm always the cynical one that's going to just kill the buzz here. But yeah, it sort of lasted about a year, the Japan thing, and then I think we matured a little quickly for the taste maybe, but also just things move on, and there's a big fat recession in there as well. So I think I always remember the second tour as being really like heartbreakingly quiet, but it probably wasn't as bad as I remember it. But it was,
It
whilst it was
wasn't.
good in Japan, while it was good in Japan, it was great. What was that one we did? It was like we were playing in the grounds of a castle or something, or is it like just an outdoor
That
thing?
was that
What's
was
that one?
that was Osaka, wasn't it?
Was it? But that seemed mental because we were like open air. Was it a festival or something? That's the one that I remember going like, whoa, this is crazy. And it was dead exciting. It was dead exciting. I just been like told not to really leave the hotel and stuff like that. Me and John did eventually, but
In case you got mobbed.
exactly, yeah, exactly.
They were
Wow.
down there in the hotel waiting for us, the fans.
Yeah, yeah.
They were so
Did you get
nice.
did you get crazy gifts and shit like that?
Yeah, oh yeah,
We got
yeah.
so
We had
many, the record label had to box them up and send them home for us because we wouldn't have got them all in our luggage. It was
it was
amazing.
it was mentally like this is from the being in Japan. That's out of that came we had our own Casio G-Shock watch, which was like the fashion
Wow.
watch of the times. But played it was like beat versions of Candy Pop was your alarm on your
Oh
watch.
wow.
There was
Brilliant.
going to be a book and all that. It was like properly like we were on a big record label in Japan. We were on Sony, so there was
Mm.
lots of chat of like you know merchandising and books and stuff. So it seemed crazy, but it seemed to go away as quickly as it came. But yeah, but we'll always have it. There's like YouTube video out there of us playing in that Shibuya on Air East, and
Mm.
it's just mental, and it's like great crowd reactions. They know every word. We
Yeah.
sound really good in it as well. It's like playing like we played like longer sets than anywhere else. We just had to play. We kind of refused to play the hit single twice, but it's a great video. Just it would have been great to have it recorded better because it's us on peak 1997 form, and we're
Brilliant.
just grinning all the way through it. So nice to remember it.
They ask for
Right.
your set list in advance so the sound people can get all prepared and plan for it as well. So that's when you realize you're actually doing something quite big if they want to be that prepared.
Professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Candy Pop a lot. We've got to talk about Top of the Pops. I mean, I remember it very vividly, watching it. I mean, how did that happen? Right?
So
I
it's
mean, yeah, go on. No, you go.
the executive producer, what would you call
I think he was
Black
just a producer. Yeah, just a
just
producer.
producer, right? But he was
Just a
just a
producer.
fan of the band. I don't know how he'd heard of us because we weren't like mainstream, of course, by that point. And he just wanted us on as an exclusive, which I didn't recall many bands getting to do that actually. And we went on just as the exclusive. The record was coming out in a matter of weeks afterwards, but they hadn't prepared for it either, and they hadn't actually pressed enough copies. Chemical Underground because they didn't realize it was going to go so crazy.
Mm.
And when everyone saw it, wanted it, then we could have gone even higher in the charts. You never know, but it was just unbelievable. And by then it got into the charts, number 25.
Wow.
Then we went back on as an actual chart position band, so we got to do it twice. So it was quite mental, and it was in the middle of our Super Furry Animals tour. It was the first tour that we'd done, like a proper full length one. So
Mm.
it was extremely exciting, but everything was just so fast, so
Yeah.
fast. And then I'd also started to lose my voice because I hadn't been used to singing slash screaming that many days in a row, and I was so worried about not being able to sing on live TV, and I was really hoping you could mime, but no, you don't mime. And I was on the honey and hot water before we
Wow.
did that.
Yeah. Do you remember who else was on with you when you played?
I get mixed up about what appearance, but there was on one of them. There was Gina G, there
Gina
was
G.
Cast, there was
Just a little
Gary
bit.
Newman, there
Yep.
was sadly it was a playback of Take That being on. They weren't there live.
Ah,
Their names were still on stickers in the wardrobe that we were in the dressing room of,
close
but
enough. Close enough.
they weren't there. Who else was there again?
Peter Andre was on one time.
Peter Andre,
Uh,
MN8 did the presenting on
yeah,
it. Uh, there was
Nice.
what do you call it? Robert Miles. Is that the
That's
synth guy?
right. Yeah, that's the one. I'm pretty sure Mark
Children, is that
Morrison
the
was
song?
number one,
No.
maybe.
Mark
Oh,
Morrison.
Dubstar.
Oh,
Upstart.
nice.
Yeah, they were closest to being our contemporaries of that lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Return of the Mac was number one. Definitely Firestarter was number one of the times, but they weren't on it. Yeah, I can't remember now. But yeah, all the greats.
Yeah. And so did it kind of kick off after that? Were you like, Britpop stars?
Yeah, I think it did sort of happen very quickly, but there was definitely like on the front of one of the papers, Melody Maker, maybe it was just like BiS on top of the pops, what the FUCK is going on sort of headline, like just probably somewhere underneath Oasis on the front cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sort of ramped up. As always, again, I'm going to be the voice of balance here. It was a bit of a blessing and a curse at the same time because we were just growing organically with this Super Furries tour. We were creating a new audience, and it was the press was starting to build. I think, to be fair, Candy Pop was on the radio a wee bit, so that's presumably why Top of the Pops had heard it. I think Radio
It was
One had started.
B-listed.
Yeah, so I think it started to get out from the evening session / Peel world and into the daytime world. But yeah, it accelerated things probably, I don't know, too quick for us. It was just a lot of pressure really quick. We did sort of take everything in our stride at the time, but looking back, it's like it ramped up so quickly. Like, we went from being barely talked about in the press to being all over it, and the record labels, just the ones that weren't already sniffing around, were starting to swarm, and it was again, it's just like we were just dead young, and so we got I don't know, we were excited about it, but also kind of it was just such a young age to take it all in that short space of time, I think. So
why
maybe
do you think you didn't take the corporate dollar and sign to a major?
We just couldn't. It was just it was this, the total antithesis of what virtues we'd espoused up to that point. And what I'm saying about the fake DIY is like it was a kind of that song was put in there as a safety net in case we did sell out. So it's like, there's kind of like,
we told you we would. Yeah.
There's basically like there's the history of bands who would have been bigger had they sold out, and those bands essentially they retain longevity because there was no sellout. But then there's other bands that did sell out in inverted commas. They still hold their credibility. Like a Sonic Youth or even a Nirvana, like whatever. It's just like, yeah, to go that big and to reach that many people, maybe you have to sell out. I'll use that term again, but essentially, we kind of did sell out in a roundabout way because we ended up on major labels really around the world. It's just we kind of became everything we slagged off.
Right. Well, you were on Grand Royal as well. Did you get to meet the Beastie Boys?
Yep. They were our actual bosses. Well, Mike D was the most hands-on from Beasties.
How were they?
Great, always great, really supportive. Like we hung about with them summer of '96. We went to LA and talked to all the labels, and I think they knew that we were big fans anyway. So they like getting to go to Mike D's house and hang about and like,
man, they were like the coolest band in the world at that point.
Totally. It was insane. Like I think oddly that you're wearing an Atari Teenage Riot t-shirt. It was they really wanted Atari Teenage Riot or us.
Grand Royal did.
Yeah, really? Eventually they signed both of us, but I think we were the ones out of the two that kind of got the most money thrown at us because we were going through Capitol Records through Grand Royal because that's where the Grand Royal funding came through for their major bands like us and Luscious Jackson and whatnot.
Okay.
But they were really great. I mean, it's a really weird thing where the fact that the Beastie Boys took us on board in America meant that the UK press hated us even more because it was like, how the fuck has this happened? How can this
right
this little band be so respected
Oasis
by
can't break America, but BiS are
yeah. I remember reading an article about Grand Royal in probably Select magazine, and it's just like, here's the Beastie Boys empire and blah blah blah, and then here's like the only negative point is they somehow managed to be hoodwinked by BiS, like so the closest thing to killing the Beastie Boys credibility. So yeah, they were we didn't have like like millions of dealings with them, but yeah, it was a real again that was quite surreal to get supported by Beastie Boys who were kind of massive for us. You can hear it in some of our records, just how much we're trying to. There's little attempted hip hop bits. We get little samples of people talking in between songs, So I think they saw enough of us in, or saw enough of them in us, I should say. It's just like it's three folk shouting, all with different musical influences. There's, there was quite a few similarities. So, but it was genuinely an honor. Like, I don't, didn't respect too many things during my time in the music industry, but actually getting to hang out with the Beastie Boys, getting shown around their studio, that was like, okay, I'm now in awe, and I will just like accept I'm never going to be as cool as you guys.
It's great. Well, you toured with a lot of people, right? Bikini Kill, Pavement. I mean, do you have any? Can you share any stories of rock and roll excess on the road with global superstars?
Excess.
TVs out of windows, stuff like that.
Because we did Foo Fighters, we did Ash,
that's right,
yeah. Cardigans. I can't really think of a really excessive story though. It would be nice if there was one. Maybe that's a question for John then.
Yeah, John was the only member of the band that would drink any alcohol during our heyday. So
okay.
So we would spend our tour time not throwing tellies out of windows or drinking to excess. We'd me and Amanda and Stuart, our tour manager, would just simply trawl through the record shops and get suitcases worth of vinyl to take home from wherever we were. So that's the excess is the excess baggage that we had to take home.
Sure, I would be doing exactly the same. Yeah,
Bales of excess baggage.
Foo Fighters must have been huge though. They were.
Yeah, that was great. Again, I think that just came through. That came through the Beastie Boys connection because the Foo Fighters would have the same management as the Beasties. So we, like they were great to us as well. Just really, really nice. And like
Dave
so
Grohl as nice as he's portrayed.
Oh yeah, it's like a kind of a bad word against them. Like they were so cool to us, then so friendly that our friend Ali, we went to school with, who was our guitar tech. We only had one tech. We toured with Foo Fighters, and Dave Grohl, the rest of the Foo Fighters crew were so impressed by Ali's ability that Ali to this day is now still Dave Grohl's kind of personal manager. Like that's 20. So Ali's the most successful member of BiS because he got to work with Dave Grohl for 25 years after this. So that's how I'd like to think. Again, this doesn't sound very rock and roll, but we made a really good impression with everybody that we toured with. That everyone's been really kind, and people will say nice things about us because we were very respectful. Maybe our records made people think that we'd be terrifying, out of control, shouting Scottish people, but actually, we were probably quite nice tour guests to have. So, yeah, I mean.
Was it their tour manager guy that was a bit of a prick to us though? We wrote My Fist Your Face about. He's like he would like have a big torch and he would show us where to go, and he limited the area that we were allowed to stand at the side of the stage. Do you remember that?
I can't remember which one that was, but yeah, I can remember taking the piss out of people who would tape off their ears.
He was horrible.
Yeah. No, I can't remember. I remember Gary Newman's we toured with Gary Newman, which is mental. We should never have done it because it was technically pointless, but he was lovely. But I think it's his brother is the tour manager. He was quite dismissive about us and whatnot. It was that was very funny because I said Gary Newman's sweet, just a nice guy. He would only eat sausage and chips for his dinner every night. It was just like it just meant like little things like that. That's what I remember. I don't certainly the tour excess we started to fall into later on in our touring lives when we would be headlining around America, Europe. It's basically when the drinking started to get a bit more out of control, like our our final tour of America was a little bit messy, for sure. We were starting to lose our record deals, and it was all just getting a bit chaotic.
I
I
remember
think that
getting
based.
very, very drunk with Kim Deal in a hotel room, and
God,
she was trying to lock herself in a bathroom with me.
I saw that happen. Yes,
And
yes.
then having to go home on a flight to Scotland with a severe hangover was not fun. So we've got a lot of wee funny stories like that, I
Yeah,
suppose.
keep them coming. Keep them
No, yeah,
coming.
no, it's that tour's flooding back to me, and it was none of it was good. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive enough. But yeah, hanging about with the guy that played Elliot in E.T. That's I remember that from this Shakespeare or whatever. Just being like, that was a real horrible, crushing realization. He was drinking himself in oblivion in a bar in New York, and we're
Oh
just like, and
God.
we're going, that's the guy from E.T. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God,
I
you know
mean,
Drew Barrymore? That's cool. It's like, hang on, yeah, he's washed up, and it's like, oh, that's going to happen to me, isn't it? And yeah, here we are.
It was
I mean,
New York that Claire Danes was going out with Ben Lee, who was on
Yeah,
Grand Royal at that time, and she was
yeah,
in her
yeah,
dressing room in the Bowery Ballroom, and it's just really weird because she's now like a mega mega big star, and
yeah.
same with Eric from Hull who came to see us in
Oh wow.
LA. That was a good one, so it was exciting.
I can always remember
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it. I remember there was a gig in Seattle, and use John and Amanda were still underage because you had to be 21 to get in this venue. And I
Right.
was the
Yeah.
only I was the only legal one, so you had to be like behind a curtain or in the van. But then that gig, it was the backstage toilet, and I was chatting to Peter Buck at REM, and nobody would really believe me or whatever. It's like, there he is there. In fact, do you know what my best on tour sighting of somebody famous that nobody believed me about was actually in Tokyo, and
Oh.
I was in a record shop, um, with one of the record label people, and Alanis Morissette was in there with loads of people around her, and people were just like, "That, there's no way you saw Alanis Morissette in Tower Records." I was like, I totally did, I totally did. But I never got to speak to her, so it's not really an anecdote, that one. Sorry, but
I
Also,
believe you, man. I believe you.
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
good one
Thanks.
for me was in San Francisco. Fred Schneider from B-52s.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Wow.
Excellent, excellent.
that's a
Also,
very,
yeah,
very good one.
I can remember Claire Grogan from Altered Images coming to see us. I can remember,
Oh.
I remember, remember Damon and Justine were in the crowd when we played with Bikini Kill. It's amazing if you
Mm.
just take the lid off these things, you remember them all. I can also remember,
How
I can
how
also
uh, how
remember
were
playing.
Bikini Kill? Kathleen Hanna's probably one of my all-time heroes. I mean, how were they to hang out with?
Yeah, it was weird because we probably did our first gig in '95 at the Cat House in Glasgow
Mm.
with Longleg and them, and I don't know how we got the gig, because I think we're all into that kind of scene and they'd heard of us. But I remember Kathleen Hanna saying to somebody or in an interview once, "Oh, I really like BiS. They're not political, but I really like them." So the fact that she was referred to as being not a political band was maybe a kind of jump to make us more political, because we were a bit, as we were saying there, we just
Mm.
sounded too pop to make it obvious, I suppose.
Yeah.
But as a band, it was just so good to be doing. We went to uh, Ireland, and then we did the garage in London. And Kathleen was actually losing her voice, and she'd asked me to sing one of the songs
Wow.
instead of her. And I couldn't, I didn't. And
Oh, really?
it's a big regret. It would have been amazing, but
Ah,
it's just such a big thing. And then
God.
an amazing thing happened recently when Latigra played at the Barrowlands in Glasgow. Kathleen, between a song, she was just like, "Is Manda-Rin from BiS here? She's not asked for a guest list or anything." And it was just like, am I dreaming here? There's like a capacity of 2,000 or something, and she's mentioning me. So that did happen. A lot of people heard it and they were like, "I can't believe that she said that." So
I
we're
bet you
still
weren't there.
remembered by somebody. I was there and I'd bought a
Oh, you
ticket.
were? Okay. Okay,
Yep,
brilliant.
I was there and I was quite speechless or not. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw La Tigra in Tokyo actually. They were just so good. So good. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
All right, been a long time. I won't keep you too long. But for people like me that were kind of bands back in the day, but maybe haven't kept up with your recent stuff. Do you want to tell people what you've been up to the last few years and what you've been releasing and stuff?
Yeah, well, I think we've released a couple of entirely new albums in the last 4 or 5 years. We kind of like we stopped doing this in about 2003 first time. And that was we just kind of had enough of the music industry and just um kind of a slightly insane decision to stop at that time. So we're still relatively young, still in our mid-20s at that point. But yeah, so we rebranded. We became Data Panic for a year, and we'd kind of built up a following, doing
Okay.
no BiS songs, but just with the three of us, but with a drummer and a bass player. We were maybe a bit more guitar heavy, a bit more new wave. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of like it's very similar the overall lyrical content. So we did that for a bit, but in a slight return to punk rock roots, I'd said we're giving this 1 year and then we're going to stop. So we did. We literally like to the day we did it for 1 year and stopped, and we
Wow.
released a couple of singles. So anyway, like we did we did the 10th anniversary shows of the new Transistor Heroes 2007, and we sold out venues much bigger than we sold out at the time. Then we tried to follow that up, and nobody wanted to see us anymore, so we kind of retreated again. Um, we released the Data Panic era material. We released as an album in maybe 2014, 2015. She just gathered up all the recordings, quite a lot, and released. It kind of hung together. There's some good songs in there. Um, and we'd sort of still kept playing like we did as festivals like indie tracks and Primavera. We would just do the odd sporadic appearance. Um, and in the background, still like I was certainly still writing some tunes with not really thinking that we'd ever release anything. But anyway, but 2018, 2019, we just started to we learned that we could remotely record because John's up in Inverness, but we were able to me and Amanda were able to record stuff and then send it to John, who would do his bits and back and forth. Now this always seemed like an inorganic way to make music, but it's the modern way to do it now, and it's fine. We've made music for so long that intuitively you just have to trust each other's work. Come back, and if you don't like something, you can go do that again or this that other thing. So anyway, we released Slight Disconnects in 2019, which was just a really short, sharp half an hour new wave synth pop record, and then 2022 we released Systems Music for Home Defense, which was kind of like boring lockdown album, but that was quite inspired by being stuck in lockdown and feeling like as everybody needed was a kind of emotional safety net. So I just got obsessed with all the music that I listened to when I was 13 or 14, which was all the kind of indie dance, crossover records. So just anything from 1989 to 1991, I just absorbed again and again. It was like,
What you mean
yeah,
like who?
like just I mean, essentially, top level would be your Happy Mondays or whatever,
Right.
808
Jesus
State,
Jones and yeah, okay, yeah, mate.
Manchester
Yeah.
era rave
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuff, alternate, bizarric,
Yeah.
just like so our last album is essentially that those are the bones of it is a kind of
Mm.
like indie dance rave inspired, a bit like I was talking earlier about trying to program rave beats on a drum machine. Our last album actually has the rave beats in there along with the drum machine because we have the technology now. So that's where it started, was that kind of sonic template. But obviously, then you put guitars on it, you put me and Amanda shouting on it, and then it becomes BiS. But the
It's
bones
Beast,
of it
yeah.
are slightly from that period of just retreating to a kind of youthful state before, well, I guess before the madness of our brush with fame happened. It's like take it back to what you loved before you were tainted by cynicism. So now essentially we still play sporadically when we can, when we get offered the right things, when time allows, and we're we're always working on something. So
Mm. Great.
probably part of me wants to like go on forever. Part of me wants to just be like, when are people going to catch up with us? But it's a slow process. You can't force people to reappraise you. We just have to wait until it happens.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
That's it.
Last question, and we ask every band member we interview the same question. Which other band from that era would you have liked to have been in if you hadn't been in BiS? But both of you.
That's Amanda, you got an immediate answer. It's probably going to be really obvious answers. No, I don't know. Actually, I used to, and I'm not just saying it because they're on your jumper, but I used to be so jealous of Atari Teenage Riot. It was just like, that's the band we could have been if we'd gone pure aggression.
It was so badass, weren't they? They're amazing.
Oh man, just like we did a couple of gigs with them.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it was just seeing being in a minibus with Alec Empire, and he's playing his Game Boy, and all he's done is say hello and a couple of words to me. It was just like, oh man, you're my contemporary hero.
Yeah.
I think like musically, they did one thing so well, whereas we tried to be lots of things. So yeah, I think Atari Teenage Riot, Brainiac, I thought were the coolest band ever.
Nice.
Of our contemporaries, because Nation of Ulysses had finished by that point. So maybe somewhere between Makeup, Brainiac, and Atari Teenage Riot. And if I'm honest, it's Atari Teenage Riot because I think certainly a couple of songs in Social Dancing where the breakbeats are in there, we were trying to be Atari Teenage Riot.
Wow.
There's like, I'm a Loud Enough, Young Alien types, and It's All New they were meant to be Atari Teenage Riot songs.
Wow. Oh man,
you're
hitting all my favourite bands here. This is great.
Yeah. John decides to put harmonies and things and just takes all the rage out of it. So yeah, I'm going to go Atari Teenage Riot here.
It totally works. It's brilliant. Yeah. Love it. Amanda?
For me, suppose the bands that I really loved around that time would be your Bikini Kill and Bratmobile. And in the same kind of vein was Slater Kinney, who we later got to tour Europe with, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But got on with them so well. This is when Janet was still in the band. And as far as like hanging out with bands, like, because I was quite shy, and especially with people that are big heroes to me, they were so nice to me. And I interviewed Corin for my fanzine. I remember in Amsterdam, I went with Carrie and Corin to the Anne Frank house, and it was like, this is just so nice, someone I can actually just hang out with, because I think when you're the only girl on tour over and over, you don't really have like pals with you to kind of chat to in a way, but they were just lovely people to be around, and if I was in a band, I think they would make me feel very comfortable, and I could enjoy that quite well. So
great.
Probably Slater Kinney, because again, they're still going, and
I was listening to their new album yesterday, actually. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So again, quite inspirational in that respect.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, that's great. What's the best way for people listening to find out what you're up to? I think you've got a couple of festivals and stuff lined up for this year. What's the best way to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah, we're on most of the social things, aren't we? What are we doing? We're doing that Bearded Theory Festival, Derbyshire, and then
that looks good. Yeah.
I mean, it is our 30th anniversary this year, so we probably should do more gigs. But we're doing a London show, and now I've forgotten, Amanda, you're better at these things than me, sorry.
It's not been announced yet, Stephen.
Was it not?
Yes. So the weekend of the Bearded Theory Festival, Bearded Theory has been announced, but that weekend we'll be doing some gigs after it. Yeah.
Oh,
and
right,
then,
sorry.
And then we've got Mugstock in the summer. We've got another festival that's not announced in August. It's in Scotland. And there's talk of doing something towards the end of the year for our 30th anniversary in Scotland. So
yeah, we probably
back to Tokyo.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, we've not been asked. So yeah, it would be lovely to get back to Japan one more time before we all. I was going to say retire, but probably die. I'd lovely to do something in America again. There's always people asking when we can get back places, and I'll just plug our last album again here. There's a song called "Irrelevant Disco" on it, so obviously we have to have disco.
I noticed the Tokyo references in that. Yeah, I noticed that.
Good. I was wondering if anybody was listening to the lyrics, but yeah, essentially, it is the plight of the bands that just can't actually get places anymore due to financial reasons. That's it. That's what you want to hear from punk rock, is financial reasons. But never say never. Never say never.
Sure. It's great. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Don't jump away just yet.
So there we go. Sci-fi Steve and Manda-Rin from BiS. It was a good one, that. I enjoyed it a lot.
Not as much as I did. I was. I think I came across as a bit of a stalkery fanboy in it.
It's all good.
Loved it.
Good interview.
Loved it. Manda was kind of like shy and sweet and
yeah, she's cute. I mean that.
Steve was just really cool. Yeah, not in a demeaning way. Yeah, we know what you mean.
No, yeah. Because we wouldn't do that. It's just, you love to get your bit in feminism in there, didn't you? Couldn't wait, could you?
On. Yeah. Come on. As I said in the Ask Anything Wang, I just really wanted to be friends with both of them.
Yeah. Just, they seem like really nice people for sure. Maybe we can make it happen, you know. She goes to Tokyo quite a lot, or Japan, doesn't she? So maybe we can meet up when she's next out there.
Also, so before I started recording, when I first come on, so Steve's like, "Oh, nice t-shirt." I was wearing that Atari Teenage Riot t-shirt, and then Manda come on like a couple of minutes later, and she's like, "Oh, nice t-shirt," and then she said, "Oh, I thought you." No, I had no idea that they would. Had no idea they even knew about them. No idea. Yeah. And then she said, "Oh, I thought you were Steve for a minute." She said he's usually sitting in front of like a bank of records like you are.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, for Zoom calls. So it's just that affinity. Yeah, it's great.
So, are you going to see him again?
Hey,
any plans?
Come on.
Well, next time I'm in Scotland.
Yeah, you go to Scotland as well, don't you?
I used to when I was doing my PhD.
You used to go and do a weird sort of course thing over there or something.
Oh, weird course. It was
we used to go. Half your course was in Japan and half was in Scotland, which is a bit weird.
It was all in Scotland, but I just had to just show my face, basically a couple of times. But yeah,
I didn't realise that the pill sessions they were encouraged to like play unreleased material, which kind of makes sense now because when you listen to the pill sessions, that's what it is, isn't it? A lot of the time, but
it didn't have to be unreleased, did it? They just wanted something not a carbon copy of a record.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea, right? It's cool.
And it's so important at the time, weren't they, the pill sessions? We do talk about it a fair bit, but it was just it gave you a massive leg up in the indie scene, didn't it?
Yeah, well, like they said, it was the first time they'd recorded Candy Pop, right? When they did that. Yeah, and if you're like a very, very new band like that and you haven't got access to recording studios and stuff like we were talking about with FMB, right? Then that's just a great opportunity for a new band to have that experience, right?
Yeah, and there's some great albums that come out of that as well. One of my favourite Senseless Things album is the Peel Sessions. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. But who's got that role now? I mean,
I was going to say, is there a modern equivalent?
Well, Hugh Stevens took over, didn't he?
They used to do the Maid of Vale stuff, didn't they? Maid of Vale sessions, but I don't know if they even do that anymore.
I don't know about sessions. I'll tell you, his son, Tom Ravenscroft on Six Music, has a really, really good show playing all sorts of cool music. So he's kind of carried on his dad's legacy, you know.
That's good. Yeah, I think you do need something like that, but I'm not sure if the whole sort of medium of listening to music's changed. I don't know if it's just got the same clout it used to have, but radio. But it's still important,
right?
Still important, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask Luke what the Teen C revolution was. Is that something?
So that was kind of like their thing. Well, their record label was Teen C Recordings, and it's just their idea that the power of the teenager and refusing to kind of conform to grown-up blandness and normality, basically. So they're celebrating being a teenager.
Yeah, which they were.
Exactly.
They were younger than everyone else at that time.
This is Dave's problem at the moment. His son's celebrating being a teenager and he keeps getting arrested. He got arrested once. He didn't really get arrested, did he?
Detained.
He'll say
So, yeah, that's basically
TV.
what it was. Saying, be proud to be young and to be don't have to pretend that you're older and cooler. It's okay to basically enhance the power of the young.
Yeah, on BiS, I didn't really know them much, but they were one of the few bands I had a single of, which was
there you go.
Euro Disco. Which I just really liked that song. It was probably you that I heard it through in the first place.
It's great. But,
I never really knew where they're from or anything. I had no idea they were Scottish. But one of the obvious things about them was that the artwork and the graphics, that they'd really sort of paid attention to that. And that little symbol with the three of them dancing.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't realise she did the artwork till the interview. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I like
that. And on the first album, there's loads of Japanese, so everything's like translated into like Japanese, like katakana. But I'm sure it's not Manda's fault. I'm sure
and stuff, right?
Exactly. So if you have a look, I'm sure you can spot the mistake straight away. Pretty embarrassing.
Can't really see.
God.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh
well.
It's not Manda's fault. I'm sure it's whoever the typesetter is or whatever that did this. But yeah. Pretty bad, eh?
Schoolboy.
It's unbelievable. it's Can you see the problem?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I don't need to say it then. Yeah. Well, for people, I should say, because people that are not watching, people that are only listening on the audio, right.
Them. Yeah,
so they got their names in katakana. So you got Sci-Fi Steve and John Disco. But look, Manda-Rin is upside down in katakana.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that says Manda-Rin. So it's printed upside down.
That is quite a faux pas.
Yeah.
That's not a faux pas, is it?
It's not a faux pas. It's a mistake.
No.
Yeah.
A mistake.
Yeah.
That was my equivalent of Alanis Morissette's "Ironic" and "Sod's Law." Wasn't
Sure. But yeah, all the manga and stuff and the artwork's really cool there.
I always like it when a band does their own artwork, like Jeremy with the levers and stuff. I just think it's an extension of their sort of art, isn't it? I like it.
Yeah, and it's going to fit. It's going to fit well with the band, isn't it? If you got
it's much more personal.
People doing the music and the art.
I want to know though. I wish I'd asked. I only thought of it after. Like, she talked about she's into Japanese manga and they were into like fanzines and stuff. How did they get access to that kind of stuff
back then?
Glasgow in the early 90s. I mean, I don't know how easy was it to get hold of like
comic stores and stuff,
and Japanese manga. I guess
maybe comic stores.
I guess if you're really into it, you can do it, can't you?
But Glasgow's not exactly a backwater, is it? It's a
that's true.
International city.
Yeah, don't slag off Glasgow.
Oh no, I mean, I don't, not especially Glasgow for being a backwaters.
You're
they were in Glasgow.
Going on about how backwards Glasgow.
It features in an ABBA song.
What ABBA song? Which one?
Is this a joke? This could be a joke.
In Glasgow. Super Trooper. That's about a big light in Glasgow, isn't it?
What do you mean? What's that? What do you mean a big light?
Well, that's what a Super Trooper is. It's a massive.
Is it?
I thought you'd know this, Neil.
No, I don't. With
your technical stage knowledge.
Is that what it is? A light?
I think so.
Let's hope so. Otherwise, you make yourself look
I hate that song.
On live.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
I like the back end when he that bit.
Wasn't that from Lady Gaga? What you just did?
It sounds a bit like that.
Going back to fanzines, when they said that especially for the first album, when their lyrics were inspired by fanzines, that was a penny drop kind of moment for me. It's just like, because if you read them, it reads like fanzine polemic basically, and it's totally made sense. So that was cool to find out. It's often like those kind of calls for revolution, like teensy revolution, that kind of thing, and inspiring stuff, but also tackling social issues, like they say, like homophobia. There's stuff in there. I said in the interview, body positivity and taking on the man and that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff fanzines writers write about. They did in the 90s.
hung out with the Beastie Boys at Mike D's house. I'd like to go to Mike D's house. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Of course it is.
How did they get discovered by the Beastie Boys?
They liked him. The Beastie Boys liked him, I think. Yeah, I think it's one of those, wasn't it?
Like I say, BiS were far cooler than any of similar, Britpop, 4 skinny indie kids, Britpop bands. They were far cooler than any of those.
I didn't know anything about the American side of it until the interview, that they had that success over there. That they were on that, even on that label, on Grand Royale. Grand Royale?
Yeah.
Is that the name? Yeah. I didn't know any of that. But yeah, they went on some Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl, nice guy, confirmed.
There
you go.
Yeah.
Awful band, but nice guy.
Nice guy. Yeah.
There's a bit of an elephant in the room.
Go on.
Is there?
Go on.
Luke.
Yeah.
You like Amanda, don't you?
What are you saying?
I think you like her. One bit of evidence in a previous episode, Luke revealed himself to have fancied Betty Boo.
She has
Amanda
got Betty Boo vibe.
Looks
She
fairly
has got Betty Boo vibes.
similar to Betty Boo, I reckon. She's obviously the right type. You got the Japan connection.
Evidence number 1, a Japan connection.
Japan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Scotland.
Sure.
Scotland.
The music. He loves their music.
Well, you go to Scotland a lot.
Yeah. You went and you chose Stirling to
Scotland
be
like
close
twice.
to.
Yeah.
Be close to them, didn't you?
Dave's onto something here.
Oh man, you found me out.
Want to be friends? Fucking, I want to be more than friends.
What can I say? Totally busted.
I'm glad we dealt with it.
No. Not at all. But I did think she was very, very cool.
Yeah, she's lovely.
Yeah. I like the fact that they didn't sell out. They didn't sign to a major. And the song, This Is Fake DIY, was, as I said, I really think it's the best song ever written about the music industry. I really do. Especially that particular point in history,
I'm with Dave on that. I would have signed to anyone that gave me the most money.
Integrity, man.
I know. I would have had none.
But what's so selling out about signing to a big label?
Because they tell you what to do. Like what happened with Mo Solid Gold we learned about last week, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't always go wrong, does it?
Well, what's so good about the song This Is Fake DIY? And I didn't know that he had written it thinking that they were going to sign to a major.
Safety net, wasn't it? Safety net. I like that.
So they said, "Well, we told you it was fake," which is very cool. But the lyrics are like, this is like limited edition, a shadowy package to pretend that it's cool. It's a fake indie label. So it's exactly what happened in the 90s. If you remember, all of these big labels bought up the small indie labels, but they kept the name.
Subsidiaries, didn't they?
Yeah. And so they pretended that they weren't actually major labels when they were 100%. And it was fake. And even though they were pumping money into them, they were pretending they were like these little scrappy indie labels, and they weren't at all. They were being, basically kept afloat by major label corporate dollar, and it was so fake and so cynical. And they just capture it perfectly in that track.
But that's obviously a lot worse than just honestly signing to a major label, right? It's the fakery. That's the problem.
That's it. That's what they didn't like, and it's great that they called it out. No one else was doing it. Everyone else was going along with it and pretending that they were these indie band when they knew they weren't. They were the only ones with the balls to call it out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's interesting.
It deserves respect. But just generally on selling out, widening it a bit to politics as well. It's the same thing.
Here we go.
But it's not helpful, is it, when you start labeling people as sellouts? Because it's just like we were talking early on about the left, how they always end up in squabbles and we never get anywhere. It's because of that kind of thing, one group labeling the others.
Who's got a fan or something on?
It's rain.
It's fucking hell.
I told you it's a rainy season.
Mental.
It's just started.
Are you in the roof?
No. I told you it's a rainy season.
That is mad. That's not rain. That's like a fucking torrent. Is it a monsoon?
If it was, it's not called that here, but it's basically.
I've just been,
you're racist.
Showing my ignorance and racism again. Yeah, sorry.
Well, what is the word for it?
Well, it's a Japanese word, but it's
Well, what is it?
You can call it a monsoon. It's tsuyu.
Just tell us what it is.
I told you. Tsuyu.
What?
Tsuyu?
Tsuyu.
To you. To me.
But hang on, what is the Japanese word for monsoon?
I'm not telling you anymore. Tsuyu.
You don't know, do you?
Come on. Ian Svenonius mentioned without me talking about it first. Come on.
You've probably given them a point. You said, mention my Atari Teenage Riot t-shirt.
I had no idea. And he chose it for his band he'd like to be in. How cool was that? Chose Atari Teenage Riot.
Yeah,
and Ian Svenonius mentioned without me mentioning. I read one of Ian Svenonius's books this week. Been trying to get hold of a copy for ages, and finally did. The Psychic Soviet. It's so good.
I have sent him a few messages. I am trying to get him, but I don't know if you'd be able to handle it if he came on.
I've met him a couple of times before, actually. He won't remember that, but I have. And of course, I enjoyed all the Riot Girl stuff. I got Kathleen Hanna's autobiography pre-ordered
as well.
Came through a couple of days ago.
I messaged her the other day.
Just started reading it today.
It's quite big on social media, isn't it? Everyone's talking about it. Bruce Pavitt's been talking about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I pre-ordered it as soon as I heard about it, and came through a couple of days ago.
Yeah, come on, Kathleen. What else?
Come on, Kathleen.
Come on.
Come on the show. Come on.
We're all right.
I've been listening to Le Tigre and Kathleen Hanna all day at work today. So.
I've got a really random thing. All right, that they met the guy from ET.
What? Yeah. I missed that bit.
And he was like a washed-up alcoholic.
He was on a downward spiral. I like that. I'm presuming it's Elliot, is it?
Yeah, it must be.
E.T.
Not the guy in the E.T. suit. There was someone in there, you know.
Yeah, it's Mother Teresa. I'm not going to go there.
Go on.
Go on. You'll never get the opportunity again.
I can't bring myself to do it. There was no one in the costume. It was Mother Teresa that played E.T. You got to admit there was a certain resemblance. Apologies.
She's gone now anyway. So
enjoyed the 90s pop references as well. Gina G, Peter Andre, Return of the Mac.
The pop sounded great, didn't
it? Yeah. Gary Newman only eating sausages and chips for dinner. That was a good fact.
I wrote that and then I got rid of it.
Why? That's important information.
You can't just eat the same meal every day, can you?
That's all he wants.
Right, that's it for this one. Please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you're watching. Let us know your favourite BiS tracks, albums, gigs. Pop us a comment below. If you are listening, then please do rate and review the podcast because it really does help it get found. Please do take the time to do that. We do really appreciate all the comments and reviews and all that stuff. Luke, mixtape. Still no Pink Floyd's.
No Pink Floyd, of course. Plenty of BiS though. Loads of good stuff. Yeah, again, if you think you don't know BiS or you don't like BiS, have a listen and hopefully change your mind. Listen to the lyrics, get into them. Lots of BiS. Atari Teenage Riot, of course. Finally, I can put some Atari. Well, they haven't got that much on Spotify. They didn't have the track that I wanted, but I found there's always a good Atari Teenage Riot song around.
Yeah.
Nation of Ulysses. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
There you go. Heard it here first. It's going to be a good one. So, listen to the mixtape. Dave?
See you in a minute.